Annyeonghaseyo, welcome to the End of Korean Cinema. Time and time again I come across a movie that reminds me why I'm doing this channel in the first place. Because Korean movies are awesome. Let's talk about the 2018 drama movie Miss Baek or Mr. Baek. The movie stars Han Ji-min, Kim Si-ah, Hee-joon, and Kwon So-hyun. The movie is based on a true story. Han Ji-min plays Miss Baek, a woman with a difficult past who crosses paths with a young girl who's being abused and neglected, just like she was. So slowly the issue becomes personal for her and tries everything to save this little girl. This freaking movie, guys. It killed me. It destroyed me. It's not an easy watch. In a way, this is quite a raw movie. There are some scenes that are genuinely disturbing and infuriating. At the same time, this is one of the most beautiful and definitely the most emotionally filled movie I've seen in a long time. After having seen the first 2 or 3 minutes, I was 100% into the movie. It's only 96 minutes long, by the way, and it's very smartly written. The main characters are very quickly introduced, and even though we only get a few of their traits at first, they're all relevant all throughout the movie. The movie instantly creates a very strong foundation upon which a great movie is built. You probably already know that most of the time I go into these movies completely blind. I don't know the story, nothing. But these characters were so interesting right from the beginning. And thanks to that, the movie is able to get very dark and very dramatic very quickly. I was actually very surprised how quickly the movie gets to the point. I was even more surprised to see how well it worked. Okay, but seriously, despite this being a wonderful movie, it's heart-wrenching. If you grew up in a dysfunctional family, as I did for example, then this movie might hit you a little differently. I hope you had a fantastic childhood, but for me, having experienced some of the things the child does here, this wasn't an easy ride. In fact, the movie is so dark and bleak a lot of times, it almost becomes a crime movie. Or a thriller. The influences are definitely there. It's reflected in the cinematography also. There are lots of handheld shots which give the movie a nervous, uncomfortable edge. And it works with the story very well. I was actually pretty impressed with the handheld shots. But my point is, visually the movie complements its subject matter. And on top of that, the music is also incredible. It's very tastefully used, and I was genuinely impressed by the soundtrack. Most of the time I find movie soundtracks to be harmonically not appealing to me. Not this time. The story, the way it's communicated visually, the music, they all complement each other. And to top it all off, everybody in this movie does a fantastic job. Everyone. Hee-joon is a genius actor. If you haven't seen the thriller series Mouse, I highly recommend it. He's more of a supporting character here, but an important character, and he was very good. Kim Si-ah as the abused child was absolutely amazing. The things her character goes through in this movie are just horrific, and she was totally immersed in her role, selling each and every frame she was in. She had a really difficult job, and she passed with flying colors. But the absolute star of this movie is Han Ji-min as Miss Baek. I didn't really know her before, I only saw one of her movies before this, but now I wanna see everything she's ever done. She portrayed an utterly broken, emotionally distant person, who deep down inside actually cares a lot. I loved everything about this character and Han Ji-min's performance. Miss Baek actually has a criminal record, and she's living together with Hee-joon's character, who's a police officer, and he had to lock her up years ago. I mean, what? There's more to the story, of course, but you see, we instantly get this information at the beginning, so it's already really interesting. And then Miss Baek and the little girl meet, and you cry for the rest of the movie. Okay, maybe not, but the chemistry between the characters is so strong, they work so well together that the dramatic bits are exceptionally strong. This movie is a great example of how to write characters, actually. I've seen movies where characters were being set up for half an hour and yet not having half the personality the characters in Miss Baek have. You don't have to give someone an infinite amount of character traits. Just make those traits relevant. This movie shows the absolute best and the absolute worst in people. It also has something to say about how dangerous it is to become a parent when you still haven't worked out your own traumas yourself. Because then you start doing the same thing to your own children. And it's very unhealthy. But despite the movie having quite a few difficult scenes, at its core this film has a big heart. In the end, this movie is much more about love than hate. No matter how dark it gets, no matter how heavy it gets, at the end of the day, this movie is about love. And self-sacrifice in a way. You know, putting aside your own problems to help someone who's in an even worse situation. That's the beauty of this film. Honestly, objectively, apart from a few exposition-heavy dialogues at the beginning, I really didn't find anything wrong with this movie. For what it is, as a drama movie, this is pretty much perfect. If there's one thing I can say against it, is its highly emotional nature. This movie rips your heart out. And because of that, I don't know how rewatchable this is. I loved it, but I certainly don't see myself watching it again in the near future. I don't want to cry again for 90 minutes straight. Yes, I am joking. I only cried for 45 minutes. But seriously, if you have at least a drop of empathy in you, this is a hard watch. At the same time, the acting is captivating, the music is fantastic, the cinematography is raw but fitting, the characters are great. If you're a fan of great dramas, this one's a must. I'm gonna give Miss Baek 93%. I sat in silence for 5 minutes after the movie ended. It's very effective. If you wanna have a good time, avoid this. If you wanna see something great in general, I highly recommend it. 여러분, 오늘은 여기까지만 해요. 영상 봐주셔서 감사합니다. 이 영상 좋아하시면 구독과 좋아요 잘 부탁드립니다. See you very soon. 다음 시간에 만나요, 여러분. 안녕히 계세요. Bye.